Emma was radiant, her smile as dazzling as the city skyline behind her. But beneath her confident laughter and carefree demeanor, a secret lurked, one that even her closest friends didn't know. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. The night unfolded like a scene from a movie. Dressed to turn heads, Emma and her entourage danced their way from exclusive clubs to private lounges. Their antics captured in fleeting snapshots and stories shared on social media. Strangers watched in envy as the group celebrated with abandon. Yet, for Emma, each step deeper into the Miami nightlife brought a quiet undercurrent of tension. Every flicker of her eyes toward the crowd, every pause between drinks, hinted at a guarded heart and a life not as simple as it seemed. It wasn't until a moment of confusion, a mix-up at a posh hotel suite, that the truth began to unravel. She walked into a room expecting her friends, only to be confronted by someone she never thought she'd see. Someone tied to the life she had so carefully hidden. The shock of recognition sent a chill down her spine. Her heart raced as she took in the figure before her, undressed, vulnerable, and holding the one truth she had fought so hard to keep buried. The walls seemed to close in as Emma faced the collision of her two worlds. The bachelorette party was supposed to be a celebration of her future, but now it had become a night that could destroy everything. What had started as an unforgettable weekend in Miami was about to expose a web of lies that no one saw coming. Emma's pulse pounded as her gaze locked with the figure standing before her. It felt as if the room had tilted, the ground shifting beneath her feet. Every muscle in her body tensed, her breath catching in her throat. The man's eyes, wide with surprise, mirrored the same disbelief etched across her own face. She hadn't expected him, especially not here, of all places, and certainly not like this. Her mind raced. She couldn't let her friends find out. This was supposed to be a weekend of celebration, an escape filled with laughter and dancing, not a collision with a truth she had carefully buried. Her world of secrets had no place in the glittering chaos of Miami nightlife, yet here it was, staring back at her in flesh and bone. He recovered first, his expression hardening into a guarded mask. "Emma," he said quietly, his voice low but sharp with recognition. The sound of her name spoken by him felt like a slap, a reminder of what she had been running from for so long. She took a step back, her heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct screamed for her to leave, to walk away before the fragile balance of her life shattered completely. But her feet wouldn't move, as if the weight of her double life had finally pinned her in place. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. He tilted his head, a bitter smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Didn't know I'd be here? Or didn't think I'd ever find out?" A knot tightened in her stomach. This wasn't just about him being here. It was about everything she had worked so hard to hide. She felt the walls pressing in again, the tension wrapping around her like a vice. From the hallway, muffled voices and laughter echoed closer. Her friends were coming, unaware of the storm brewing behind this closed door. Panic surged through her. She had mere seconds to figure out what to do before her two worlds collided, and when they did, there would be no turning back. Her carefully constructed life was one step away from falling apart. But the truth had a way of finding cracks, and this night was far from over. Emma's mind raced as the door handle twisted. She turned toward it, panic flashing in her eyes, but her feet felt rooted in place. Time seemed to slow, the space between heartbeats stretching into eternity. She wasn't ready for this confrontation. Not here, not now. The door creaked open a sliver, laughter pouring in from the hallway. "Emma, are you in here?" A cheerful voice called out, the tone playful, oblivious to the storm building inside the room. With a sharp intake of breath, she whirled around, her hand gripping the edge of the dresser for balance. Her eyes darted to him, still half-dressed. Tension etched across his face, his presence a living reminder of every lie she had told. He moved quickly, grabbing a shirt from the bed and slipping it on as if shielding himself from what was about to happen. "I'm fine," Emma shouted, her voice strained but just steady enough to hold. "Just give me a minute." A pause followed. Footsteps shuffled, voices fading as her friends moved away, their curiosity dulled by the music and drinks that awaited them. She exhaled, the breath ragged, as she turned back to the man who had brought her double life crashing into the light. "You have to leave," she hissed, her voice sharp and urgent. "Now." He didn't move. His eyes, dark and piercing, stayed locked on hers, filled with questions he clearly wasn't ready to let go unanswered. "Emma, I'm not going anywhere, not this time." The weight of his words hit her like a blow, each syllable a crack in the foundation she had built to protect herself. She wanted to yell, to shove him out the door and slam it behind him, but deep down, she knew this wasn't just about him. The truth wasn't something she could keep hidden forever. He took a step closer, his voice low but relentless. "How long have you been living like this? How many more lies do you think you can juggle before everything comes crashing down?" Emma clenched her jaw, her pulse hammering in her ears. She could feel the cracks spreading, the walls of her carefully guarded life weakening with every passing second. Yet part of her still clung to the hope that she could fix it, that there was a way out of this mess without losing everything. But hope was a fragile thing, and time was running out. Emma's breathing quickened, her chest rising and falling as if the air itself had turned heavy. She clenched her fists by her sides, trying to hold herself together even as her mind unraveled. Every second he stood there was another thread pulled loose, another layer of her double life peeling away. The truth wasn't just threatening to come out, it was clawing its way to the surface. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of all the secrets she had carried. "It's not that simple." He narrowed his eyes, stepping closer until the tension between them felt almost tangible. "Then make me understand. Tell me what's so complicated that you had to live a lie." The silence stretched between them, heavy and unbreakable. Outside the window, Miami's nightlife roared on, indifferent to the storm inside the room. The neon glow of the city cast long shadows across his face, highlighting the frustration and hurt that lingered in his expression. Emma knew she owed him answers, but the words stuck in her throat like stones. A sudden knock on the door shattered the fragile moment. Emma flinched, her eyes darting toward it. Her heart raced as panic surged through her veins. Whoever it was, they couldn't come in. Not now, not with him here. "Emma, you've been in there forever," another voice called, this one more impatient. "We're going to the next spot. You coming or what?" Her mouth went dry. She needed to think fast, but her mind was a blur of fear and desperation. "I'll be right out," she managed, her voice high-pitched and forced. The door remained closed, but footsteps lingered just outside, a reminder of how thin the walls were and how easily her life could be exposed. "Go," she whispered urgently, her eyes burning with pleading. "If they see you, it's over." He shook his head slowly, his jaw tightening. "Emma, it's already over." His words hit like a punch to the gut. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Every excuse, every justification she had rehearsed fell apart in the face of his quiet conviction. The door handle shifted again, and the tension reached a fever pitch. Emma's entire world teetered on the edge, one breath away from falling into chaos. Emma's heart slammed against her chest as the door began to open. She shot him a frantic look, her eyes begging him to disappear, but it was already too late. A slender hand pushed the door wider, and into the room stepped her best friend, Lisa, her brows raised in confusion. "What's going on?" Lisa's eyes scanned the space, her playful smile fading the moment she noticed the tension thick in the air. Then she saw him, standing still, his expression a mix of defiance and discomfort. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. "Lisa, I can explain," she blurted, stepping between them as if her sheer presence could block the truth from spilling out. Lisa's eyes darted back and forth between them, her smile twisting into something harder. "Explain what?" Her voice, once light and full of energy, turned sharp, cutting through the pretense like a blade. "What is he doing here?" Emma's mouth opened, but no words came. She had always been good at spinning stories, at weaving together truths and lies to create a life that looked perfect from the outside. But now, under the weight of Lisa's gaze and the suffocating presence of the man who knew too much, the web she had spun felt like it was tightening around her own throat. Lisa folded her arms, her expression darkening. "Is this some kind of joke? You've been sneaking around behind our backs on your bachelorette weekend?" "No," Emma said quickly, her voice cracking with emotion. "It's not what you think." Lisa's eyes narrowed. "Then tell me what it is, because right now it looks like you've been lying to all of us." Before Emma could respond, he finally spoke, his voice calm but charged with meaning. "Maybe it's time she told you the truth." Emma shot him a warning look, but the damage was done. Lisa's gaze turned icy, her trust unraveling with every second of silence. "What truth?" Lisa demanded. Emma swallowed hard, feeling the room close in around her. Every secret, every choice she had made was about to catch up with her, and this time there was no escape. A sudden buzz from her phone broke the tension. She glanced down, her blood running cold as a message flashed on the screen. A name from her past she had desperately tried to forget. The nightmare wasn't over, it was just beginning. Emma stared at her phone, her heart pounding as the name on the screen burned into her mind. She barely heard Lisa's demands or felt the weight of his gaze anymore. Her fingers trembled as she swiped the screen to read the message. "You didn't think you could hide forever, did you?" The blood drained from her face. This wasn't a coincidence. The walls of her carefully constructed life weren't just crumbling. They were collapsing all at once. Lisa's voice snapped her back into the moment. "Who is it, Emma? What's going on?" Emma lifted her eyes, her lips parting to speak, but the words tasted like ash. Every choice, every lie had led her here, and now there was no path forward that didn't end in destruction. She inhaled sharply, her resolve hardening. "You want the truth?" she whispered, her voice breaking with the weight of it all. "Fine, here it is." She turned to Lisa, her oldest friend, the one who had stood by her through thick and thin. "I wasn't honest with you, with any of you. My life isn't what you think it is. I've been hiding who I am, what I've done." She swallowed hard, glancing at the man beside her. "And he's part of that." Lisa's eyes widened with a mix of shock and betrayal. "Why? Why would you lie to us? To me?" Emma clenched her fists, her nails biting into her palms as she fought to keep her voice steady. "Because I was afraid of losing everything, afraid of what you'd think if you knew the truth. I made mistakes, big ones, and now they've caught up with me." The tension thickened, the air heavy with unsaid words. The man stepped forward, his voice calm but filled with something Emma hadn't expected. Understanding. "You don't have to run anymore. Let it end here." Before Emma could respond, a loud knock echoed from the front door. All three turned toward it, the sound reverberating like a warning. Her phone buzzed again. "I'm closer than you think." Her breath caught. She looked from Lisa to him, her pulse racing. The truth was out, but the danger was far from over. This was the moment she had dreaded. The final twist was that she wasn't the only one with secrets, and someone outside that door was ready to expose them all. Emma's chest tightened as the knock reverberated through the suite. Her pulse raced, each beat pounding like a countdown she couldn't stop. Lisa stared at her, confusion and hurt written across her face, while he moved to the door, his jaw clenched and eyes sharp with caution. "Don't," Emma whispered, her voice cracking. "It's not safe." He hesitated but didn't move away. The door rattled again, more insistent this time. Emma felt a knot of dread twist tighter in her stomach. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. There was no more running, no more pretending. This was her moment to face everything head on. Lisa, still trying to piece together the fragments of truth, reached out to steady her. "Emma, who's out there? What's really going on?" Emma swallowed hard, her eyes glistening. "It's someone I thought I left behind, someone who knows the things I never wanted anyone to find out." She turned to Lisa, her voice softening. "I never meant to lie to you. I thought if I could bury the past deep enough, I could move on. But I was wrong." The door handle turned, and the tension snapped like a coiled spring. Emma braced herself, her breath held tight in her lungs as the door swung open. A tall figure stepped inside, his silhouette sharp against the neon glow from the hallway. "Hello, Emma," the man said, his voice smooth and chilling. His eyes swept the room before settling on her. "Long time no see." For a moment, the room stood frozen. Then, with a surge of defiance, Emma stepped forward, her fear giving way to determination. "It ends now. Whatever you think you have over me, whatever power you believe you hold, it's gone." He smirked, raising an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" She nodded, her voice unwavering. "Yes, because I'm done hiding. You can't control me with secrets I'm no longer afraid to reveal." Behind her, Lisa stood straighter, a spark of loyalty reigniting in her eyes. "We're not going anywhere. If you want to fight, you're going to have to face all of us." The man's smirk faltered, the power shifting in an instant. He glanced from Emma to the others, and without another word, backed away, the door clicking shut behind him as he disappeared into the night. Silence filled the room, thick with unspoken relief and the weight of what had been overcome. Emma exhaled, her body sagging with the release of tension. She turned to Lisa, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Lisa pulled her into a fierce hug. "Just promise me no more lies." Emma smiled through her tears. No more lies. The city pulsed outside, but inside the storm had passed. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt free, not because her past had disappeared, but because she had finally stopped running from it.